Okay, so you know how we're always talking about jobs and careers that are maybe a little bit overlooked?
Right. Right.
The ones that are like essential, but we don't always think about the people behind them.
Yeah, absolutely. Those unsung heroes kind of thing.
Exactly. Well, today's deep dive is all about one of those careers, rail layers.
Oh, interesting. I admit I don't know a whole lot about what they do.
Me neither until I started digging into these awesome resources from RoleCatcher. They have this whole career guide dedicated to rail layers, and it's seriously fascinating stuff.
Okay, so they helped us like lay the groundwork for this deep dive.
Totally. We're talking about what rail layers actually do on a daily basis, the tools and tech they use. It's way more high tech than I realized. And of course, the pros and cons of this career path.
Yeah, gotta love a good pros and cons list.
Yeah.
So, like painting a picture here, what does a typical day look like for a rail layer?
Well, imagine this. You're part of a team out there on the tracks, and you're responsible for making sure those rails are laid down with absolute precision.
I'm already sensing a theme of precision here.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking millimeters matter here,
Hmm.
because even the slightest miscalculation can have, well, pretty disastrous consequences.
Yeah, I can see that. Derailment is not exactly a word you want associated with your work.
Not at all. And that's where the expertise of rail layers comes in. They're not just laying down metal, they're using their knowledge of physics, engineering, even the environment to ensure those tracks are safe and sound.
So it's a lot more than just like brute strength, right?
Yeah.
You're telling me there's some serious brain power involved too.
Oh, tons of it. And get this, it's not just hammers and nails anymore. They're using laser-guided track layers, these ballast tampers that vibrate the stones for perfect compaction. It's high tech.
Wow, technology really is changing everything. Okay, so you've got the precision part, the talk part. What else? What are those rails actually sitting on? It's not just bare ground, right?
You're right. It's not. It's this carefully layered system. You've got the ballast, which is like a bed of crushed stone for drainage and weight distribution.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's like
Yeah.
supporting the rails and helping with drainage.
Exactly. And then you have the sleepers or railroad ties, those wooden beams you see running perpendicular to the tracks.
Right, right. I always wondered what those were called.
They're crucial for maintaining the correct distance between the rails, what they call the gauge.
Gauge, ballast, sleepers. See, I'm learning already.
It's a whole new vocabulary, right? And it just goes to show how much goes into something we usually just take for granted. I mean, laying those tracks, making sure everything lines up perfectly, it's got to be pretty satisfying work.
You know, the Roll Catcher Guide actually touches on that. It says a lot of rail layers find the job really rewarding.
Really? Like, what's so rewarding about it?
Well, it's hands-on, right?
Yeah.
You're out there building something tangible, something that's going to last for years and years.
Yeah, I can see that being a point of pride. It's not like you're stuck in a cubicle all day.
Exactly. And there's that whole aspect of connecting communities, facilitating trade, keeping things moving literally.
It's like you're building the veins and arteries of the country, right?
That's a great way to put it. So yeah, job satisfaction is definitely a big plus. And according to Rollcatcher, the pay is pretty good too.
Okay, so we've got satisfying work, good pay. What else? What about job security?
That's another area where rail layers tend to do well. The demand for skilled tradespeople is pretty high, and infrastructure projects like rail lines, they're always going to be necessary.
That makes sense. So it sounds like a pretty solid career path so far, but let's be real, it can't all be sunshine and roses, right? There's got to be a downside.
Well, it is demanding work, no doubt about it. Long hours, often in challenging weather conditions.
I was just thinking about that rain, snow, scorching heat you're out there on those tracks.
Yep. It's not for the faint of heart. You need to be physically fit, able to handle the elements, and comfortable with a good amount of physical labor.
Sounds like a job that really tests your mettle. And speaking of testing, I imagine the learning never really stops in this field, right? With all the tech advancements and everything.
You're absolutely right. Remember those high-tech tools we talked about? Those require training and a willingness to adapt. And as technology continues to evolve, rail layers need to evolve with it.
It's not just about muscle anymore. You need some serious brain power to operate those sophisticated machines. So how does that play into career progression? Like if you start out as a rail layer, what's the path look like?
Well, that's where the Rollcatcher Career Progression Roadmap comes in handy. They've broken it down into different stages, kind of like levels in a video game.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So you start at level 1. What does that look like?
At the entry level, you'd probably be a rail layer assistant. You'd be learning the ropes from experienced professionals, getting familiar with the tools and equipment.
So a lot of hands-on learning, shadowing the pros.
Exactly. It's all about building a solid foundation, understanding the importance of safety, precision, all that good stuff.
And then, as you gain experience, you can level up to more specialized roles.
Precisely. Maybe you become an expert in operating a specific type of machinery, or you focus on surveying and alignment, using those laser systems. There's room for specialization.
That's really interesting. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of career. So what about those top-level roles? What does a rail layer with years of experience, what do they end up doing?
Well, they might move into more of a supervisory or management role,
Yeah,
overseeing entire projects, managing teams of rail layers, making sure everything stays on track, so to speak.
pun intended.
Maybe a little. But seriously, those senior roles come with a lot of responsibility. You're not just laying the tracks. You're planning the entire operation, making sure it's done safely, efficiently, and to the highest standard.
So there's a clear path for growth in this field. You start with the hands-on work, mastering the skills, and then you can use that experience to climb the ladder, maybe even lead your own team someday.
And that's something RoleCatcher emphasizes, viewing this as a long-term career, not just a job. It's about continuous learning, taking on new challenges, and contributing to something that has a real impact.
Now, you mentioned RoleCatcher a couple of times. They obviously provided a ton of info for this deep dive, but what about for people who are actually out there job hunting?
Oh, RoleCatcher's amazing for that. They have all these tools and resources that go way beyond just listing job openings.
Okay, like what? Give me an example.
Well, they have this feature where you can research different companies in the rail industry. You can see things like salary ranges, company culture, even employee reviews.
That's super helpful, especially for someone like me. I like to be in the know before I even apply for a job.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of knowledge, they have this whole section dedicated to skills development.
So you can see what skills are in high demand for rail layers and then what, like take courses or something to fill those gaps?
You got it. They have partnerships with online learning platforms so you can actually take courses and get certified in specific skills that employers are looking for. It's all about making yourself a more competitive candidate.
And isn't there something about AI on their platform? Like they use artificial intelligence to help you with your job search?
Yeah, they have this really cool AI-powered resume and cover letter reviewer. You upload your documents, and the AI analyzes them and gives you personalized feedback on how to improve them.
No way.
Yeah.
Like a personal editor, but for your resume.
Pretty much. And they even have an AI-powered interview simulator. You can practice answering common interview questions and get real-time feedback on your performance.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like having a career coach in your pocket.
Exactly. And that's what I appreciate about RoleCatcher. They're not just connecting people with jobs. They're giving them the tools and support they need to succeed in their careers.
They're empowering job seekers to take control of their own destiny. So what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with today? Especially those who might be considering a career as a rail layer.
I'd say it's this. Don't underestimate the importance of skilled trades. Rail layers are essential to our economy, our infrastructure, our way of life. And it's a career path with real potential for growth, job security, and personal satisfaction.
Well said. It's about looking beyond the surface, seeing the value in the work itself.
Exactly. So next time you're on a train, take a moment to appreciate the intricate network of tracks beneath you and the skilled rail layers who made that journey possible.
Beautifully put. And with that, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of rail layers. We hope you learned something new today and maybe even discovered a career path you never considered before.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep on diving deep.
It's like they've created a roadmap, not just for like understanding a career, but for, figuring out that whole job search maze.
And what really blows me away is how they use AI, artificial intelligence.
Right, they've got that whole AI thing going on.
It's not just a buzzword with them. They're actually using it to help people. Like they've got this AI-powered resume and cover letter thing.
Oh, yeah, I read about that. What does it do again?
So you upload your resume or cover letter, and their AI, analyzes it. It gives you personalized feedback, tells you what to improve, what to maybe change up.
No way. It's like having a professional resume writer on call, but way cheaper, probably.
Exactly. And they don't stop there. They've even got this AI-powered interview simulator.
Okay, now that sounds really useful. How does that work?
Basically, it simulates a real job interview. It asks you common interview questions, and you answer them, out loud.
Yeah.
And the AI gives you feedback on your answers, your delivery, everything.
Whoa, that's next level. I could use that back in the day.
Yeah. So, as we kind of wrap up our deep dive here, what's the main thing you hope listeners take away from all of this? Especially if they're thinking, hey, maybe rail layer is the path for me. I think it's important for people to realize that these skilled trades, they're not what people often think. Rail layers, they're essential. They're literally building the foundation for our economy, how we transport things, how we live our lives.
It's the backbone of the country, really.
Exactly. And it's a career, not just a job. There's so much room to learn, to grow, to have a real impact. Plus, you're not stuck behind a desk all day.
It's real, tangible work. And speaking of real, next time I see train tracks, I'm going to have a whole new appreciation for the skill and precision that goes into laying those rails.
Me too. It's amazing what you learn when you take a closer look at these everyday things, right?
Absolutely. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of rail layers. Hopefully you learned a thing or two and maybe even discovered a career path you'd never considered before.
Keep those wheels turning, folks. You never know what you might discover.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the world around you.